Cindy Hamilton, 4199 Board Chair and Superintendent Jenkins, I would like to first address your document that was titled HB 7069, Frequently Asked Questions. Here you have stated that you will provide no accommodations for students that are opting out of high-stakes testing. As we are aware that this is an act of civil disobedience in protest of the high-stakes tests or high-stakes attached to testing, we did not ask permission for accommodations. See, I did need those glasses. What we did expect was that these students be treated ethically and with respect through this process. To reduce disruption to the testing environment, we remove our children after they have refused the test. This process should cause no more disruption than any student needing to exit the testing room to visit the bathroom. Due to the lack of directive from OCPS, we found that many of our students were in fact harassed and threatened. If you have not heard from enough of these parents and students, I'd be happy to have them contact you again. Many other districts chose to follow a different path and did issue directives on how schools would handle test refusers. They did so in compliance with their statutory requirement to administer the test. While we have opt-out groups in over 30 districts across Florida, we are very aware of how this process played out in other districts as opposed to those that chose to send out Pam Stewart's letter to the Senate as the final word on opt-out. We will be here next year, so I implore you to come up with some directive to treat these students ethically. The test at all costs mentality must stop, and sit and stare is child abuse. Next, I would like to talk about district EOCs. At the last board meeting, Linda Culver reminded everyone of the resolution. There was conversation about holding students harmless along with teachers. Currently, our district EOCs are weighted at 20% with a promise of grading generously. What does that mean? Holding students harmless would mean these tests are worth 0%, period, 0%. I cannot tell you how many teachers I've heard from who would love to be able to write their own final exams. The blueprint that was referenced at the last board meeting is not a study guide, and many teachers are reporting that they did not receive that blueprint until the past month. Some of the thoughts shared with us, Opt-Out Orlando, about district end-of-course exams. My daughter takes EOCs next week. However, this week are AP exams, and she has a schedule where she is missing valuable class time for review because of the APs. I am a teacher. I know how to write a final exam, and I have no idea what is on my subject EOC. I have 8 pages of comments from parents and students along with teachers on this subject. You had the opportunity to hold students harmless, and you chose not to do that, with the exception of when a standardized test is used as a district EOC like the PERT. If you are able to value that test at 0%, you are able to do the same with all district EOCs. Picking and choosing which EOC will be weighted at 20% and which will be weighted at 0% leads to confusion. Hold all students harmless. Hold yourselves as accountable as you want our representation in Tallahassee to hold themselves. How do you make that happen as board members? Make a motion. Don't send recommendations to the superintendent for future action, but make a motion. We have all been frustrated by this test season. Some have been hurt, and some have had their futures permanently altered by the educational malpractice exercised by the state of Florida. The opt-out movement is not going away. As I sit here today, we are opening opt-out groups across the state to include every district in Florida by summer's end. We protest the high stakes through civil disobedience. By some on this board, we are held in great disdain. We are referred to as those opt-out people and as being anti-testing. In spite of how OCPS has responded to this growing group of test refusers, other boards across Florida work with us to develop strategies on how to make permanent change in Tallahassee. Legislators have reached out and asked for help in preparing their own legislation to bring back instruction time and decrease the negative impact of testing on our classrooms, teachers, and students. This movement was never about us against you. It is about being fed up with the misuse and overuse of testing and the high stakes attached. We would choose to not have our students be the soldiers in this battle, but we will also not allow them to be denied what they are constitutionally given the right to, and that is a quality public education. We do not feel that can happen with the current emphasis on data collection and data-driven instruction. Instruction and assessment should be child-driven, each student considered in the process as an individual. We, those that elected you, expect you to be as committed to that idea as we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.